Hey everybody, welcome to Prepper for the Ages. My name is Jill. I talk about things that are referring to prepping and prepping with the elderly and the differently abled. Today I have a story for you, and it is something to keep in mind when you're taking care of people who are elderly, differently able. They're unable to really advocate for themselves. I had a mom and she got dementia and I felt I needed to get her officially diagnosed with dementia or with whatever she had, because it's easier to talk to a medical professional when it's officially on the chart has dementia. And to be fair to my mom, I wanted her to get officially diagnosed with whatever she had. I knew it was dementia. The aide knew it was dementia. Everybody knew it was dementia, but I wanted her to get officially assessed and diagnosed because then everybody's playing with the same card deck. Everybody, and it says on her chart she has dementia. So, okay, I wanted to get her diagnosed. And one of the reasons, big reasons to get her diagnosed is she started to not be able to advocate for herself. Um, to wit, okay, one of the symptoms of going downhill in old age is having several trips to the emergency room within like a year. So basically, you're there several times. So mom was starting to do that, and one of the first times was that my mom she got COVID. She got COVID from her aide. It basically it's just 3 days after the aide got COVID, she got COVID. Classical symptoms, coughing and whatnot. One of the things my mom had was oxygen because her oxygen was always a little bit low. So you had those little oximeter to measure her oxygen. When her oxygen got low, she had the breathing treatments. Well, my mom got COVID and her oxygen got low, and we were on the maximum that was a maximum amount of oxygen that was allowed by the doctor, and that didn't really work. Her oxygen was going lower and lower. So I gave her all her breathing meds. I gave her her nebulizer, and it kept going down and down and down. Okay, so my mom from COVID, I guess when you're in the beginnings of that respiratory distress, you don't show any symptoms until it really hits like a brick later on. So mom's oxygen um, kept getting lower and lower, and I said to myself, well, it's going down, and if it gets this low, I need help. So um, I walked in after giving her breathing treatment, giving her meds, yeah, making sure her oxygen was on and that she was breathing okay. Um, and she was in bed, so that was should have been like really good oxygen. No, that wasn't working. Wasn't working. So I finally called 911 when one finger said her oxygen was 72 and the other one said another one said it was 69. I said, "Oh, call 911." So I called 911. The nice EMTs came and I said, "This is my mom. She has dementia and she has COVID. She has dementia and her oxygen is this and I can't get it up." And they said, "We're going." And so they took her to the emergency room. I said, "I need to go. I'm going to follow you in the car. I need to be there to advocate for my mom. She has dementia." And they went like, "Okay, okay." And so they took my mom to the emergency room. And at that point, they weren't letting family into the emergency room, that out back in the emergency room where they were doing all of the stuff. And I had to convince the person at the desk that I'm here. My mother has dementia, and yes, all the nurses and doctors and orderlies and all those people working out back will want me to be in there. So I convinced the person at the desk, yes, we can go in. And I walked into that room. They had brought her into one of the rooms, and I swear there was 3 or 4 people there trying to get my mom to remember her last name. Yep, you heard me right. And she had for her first name, she goes by, went, sorry, her, she went by a nickname. for her first name, so she could tell tell all these people her nickname, but she couldn't tell her official first name and her last name, her surname. So it was making things quite difficult. And they were being very patient and very good, but they understood at that point that there was something going on. So, so it was me being able to talk my way through the reception area to get back to go, okay, this is her first name, this is her last name. She's been in here before. This is her date of birth. This is all of her stuff. And she couldn't tell them that. When I was there, I guess they were trying for several minutes to try to get her to say her official first name, her last name, her date of birth, what's your social security number, what's your identify. She couldn't tell them because she couldn't remember. She was like, ah, ha, 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 ha. Oh, well, yeah, ha, 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 ha. So that was one of the more interesting times. So, but it was important for me to get her officially diagnosed because, excuse me, when it wasn't on her chart yet. So that was one of the reasons why I we finally called and got an appointment so that she could go in and take the tests and be officially diagnosed with an official doctor who is trained to give the tests so that he could target it, he could figure out exactly what was wrong, and he could, give the recommendations or give the report and diagnose her with what she actually has. So for me, I was like, I know what she has, but making it official and having a doctor officially diagnose her was the key. So it finally got put on her chart that had dementia, and we went from there. So things became much smoother with the doctors in the ER because she went to the ER like 3 or 4 times one year, and then the last year she was there 3 or 4 times, and so it was something that really helped. I didn't have to really explain much. It's right in your chart that she has dementia, and you can tell, and I'll be the translator because a lot of things with dementia, they they can't tell the person that's evaluating them. They can't tell the doctors evaluating them that they have pain anywhere, but they'll sit there and then they'll start moaning and moaning and moaning and moaning. You say, "Hey, mom, you're hurt. Where does it hurt? Where you're moaning? Where do?" Mm, They don't tell you. They can't tell you where it hurts. They're not conscious that they are hurting. One of my mom's emergency visits, she had a UTI. She had a flaming UTI. It was horrible. And she was moaning, but she couldn't. She had dementia, so she couldn't put together that she was hurting, much less where it was hurting and what was wrong. So you have to kind of do detective work. And when the doctor comes in, the emergency room doctor's like, okay, what's going on today? My mom would go, oh, 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 and look, she literally lift her shoulders. A- And but you knew, having been sitting there with her the entire time that she's quiet, she'll start moaning and moaning, and and it's all of the hand and the arm gestures, and that her her muscles are flexing because there's something that hurts. But the doctors need that information. She has dementia, and I'm seeing the muscles flex and just muscles flexing in pain, and the moaning that comes out in the quiet moments. She'll start moaning in quiet moments, but then the doctor will ask you, okay, the doctor will ask her, and she'll be like, does it hurt anywhere? Because dementia will rob you of that ability to communicate in having those important conversations like, does it hurt? Where does it hurt? What's wrong? And so that helped me getting, when, once that diagnosis hit, that helped me just be on the same page as the doctor, help the doctor being on the same page as me. And it got them up to speed much more quickly because they didn't have to just take my word. It's on her chart. So, but anyways, Yeah, having someone officially diagnosed, take the test. And I would have been glad if it wasn't dementia. I would have been happy if it wasn't dementia. I was kind of relieved that what I was seeing was actually what was going on because, um, yeah, I'm not a doctor, but I mean, I've seen and worked with a lot of dementia patients. I've seen worked with Alzheimer's patients, but I needed somebody to do the I needed an official to do the official thing to go come to the proper diagnosis and then go from there. But but that's my story. It was interesting. They were very patient with my mom in the emergency room, and they kind of knew that she was trying to remember her last name, but she couldn't. All right. Okay. Well, it is Monday, and I have to go back to work because it's noontime. So, all right. Well, I hope this finds you well. Have a good day. Thanks. Bye.